Battle Creek homicide turned cold case is now solved. Investigators say they know who killed Gayle Barrus back in 1988 thanks to a blood sample tested by state police.
But the man responsible cannot face any charges. Fox 17's Ryan Cummings explains why after speaking with the victim's son.
Right now, I'm just still trying to catch my breath and exhale at the same time.
James Barrus was only 13 when tragedy struck the family. His mom, Gayle, disappeared from Battle Creek in early October 1988, last seen at Speed's coffee shop. About 2 weeks later, investigators discovered her body. James's father immediately picked them up from school.
He didn't mention anything there in the office, so he took us out to the truck and broke the news to us and that her body had been found.
Police located the 30-year-old's remains on River Road in Emmett Township. She had been raped and stabbed.
It was just a lot of sitting around and waiting and hoping that, she'll turn up. It was unlike her to do that. So we just hoped for the best, but obviously it didn't work out that way.
Investigators looked into two friends who may have been involved. One of them, Roger Plato, was shot and killed during a confrontation with police officers just 3 days before they found Gayle's remains. Even though his body was cremated, police kept a blood sample. More than 30 years later, it was found during an evidence audit in Calhoun County and tested by state police. And on January 25th, James got the call he's been waiting years for.
Sergeant Marshall called and informed me that he had just received a call from Michigan State Police labs indicating that it had come through.
The blood work matched Plato's DNA.
In fact, some of the early tests actually ruled Plato out. DNA was still in its infancy and stuff, and I have documents that indicated he had been ruled out. However, there were subsequent tests that were conducted on other pieces of evidence, including blood, that came back inconclusive.
James now lives in Dayton, Ohio. He's dug into his mother's case since 2013, filing records requests for police documents. He's gathered hundreds of pages of evidence, never giving up hope that one day he'd have an answer.
I think it's a relief for most of us and a weight off our shoulders, just having an answer. And that to me was the biggest thing.
James doesn't think there will ever be closure. The traumatic experience changed him and his siblings as both kids and adults. He says he's made calls to his family and his mom's friends, thanked police for their dedication, and is glad they do not have to go through the heartache all over again in the courts.
I think if somebody was still around today, now we've got to endure a trial. We've got to, which then creates a lot of other issues. And then we, potentially don't get a conviction, and then what? Even with a DNA match, because there's so much time has elapsed. Eyewitnesses have either passed away or they can't be relied upon for their statements 32 years later. So I'm actually kind of glad that it wound up the way it is.
For Fox 17 News, I'm Ryan Cummings.
Barrus is still digging into Plato's past and also looking into Richard Compton. That's a friend of Plato whose body was exhumed back in 2019 to collect DNA samples. Barrus tells us that he believes that there are more victims out there. He hopes with advancements in science that maybe more cases